Hello, my name is Paul Rogers, and I hope you can hear me. Uh, I'm an English as a foreign language teacher, and I've written a number of textbooks, and also have authored several websites. One of which is called Pumarosa.com. And today's lesson is I would like to review how I teach the present tense. Okay, and the reason that it's important is because there's one thing about the present tense of regular verbs that, for one thing, everybody forgets to put an S at the end of the third person singular. Everybody. Well, 99% of everybody who studies with me. So in those situations, it takes time. But first of all, I explain the way to study it or remember it is what I call the S rule. And I explain in Spanish. En el presente en inglés usamos la forma básica del verbo sin la palabra to. It's what I call the basic verb, without the word to, which indicates the infinitive. And before this, of course, I've already reviewed the pronouns. And so I once again review the pronouns here to make sure everybody at least has been exposed to how the pronouns conjugate. And in the third person singular, we add the letter S. And if I'm in a class, I also will explain that the third person singular also includes the names of animals, things, people, cities, states, and all that. And I call it the S rule, that the verb, the basic verb stem, does not change for I, you, we, you plural, and they. Doesn't change. But when it comes to the third person singular, we've got to add the S rule. And in order to help people memorize it, I often will remind them. The next page of my workbook, and also in the website Pumarosa, is I explain that the verbs we call auxiliary verbs or helping verbs do not change in the third person singular. And then at the bottom, exercise 11, I have people simply write the present tense of the verb to eat. I eat, you eat, he eats, she eats, it eats. And before that, I've also explained how we use the word it for animals. Now that looks like a very simple exercise. I like to make it simple at first. It's a memory. I call it a memory guide because I had trouble memorizing things. Then I use the verb play. I play the violin. You play soccer. She plays the piano. He plays the clarinet. Then I switch. Then they have to translate from Spanish to English. And that's when they begin to imprint the rule in their brains, in their minds. I continue on the present tense with explaining the negative and also how to ask questions. What I call the in the verb to be, I call it the inversion rule. With other verbs, we call the do and does. The auxiliary verb do, or third person singular does, to ask questions. I also review common verbs. Do and does. I do, you do, he, she, it does. We, you, they do. Have, can, come, cost, earn, etc. And actually, at the beginning of the book, I have a list of about 100 of the most common verbs. So that's an introduction. That's how I introduce the present tense. I don't expect anybody to get it right the first time. And usually in my classes, and also I send students homework by smartphone or computer, I use a lot of readers, lectoras. And I have a special reader that's written in the present tense with using a lot of cognados. Remember what cognados are? Cognates? Cognates, words in English and Spanish that are very similar or spelled exactly alike, because they both have their the words both in both languages come from Latin. When Rome invaded Europe, Spain, England, and Germany. So that's the introduction to the conjugation of the present tense, what I call the S rule. If you have any questions, or if you'd like me to do any specific lesson that you're interested in, let me know. Can you hear me? Can you hear my voice? This is Jenny. Can you hear me? Maybe you can't hear me. I gotta check.